Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first spiritual gathering in the month of June. I'm joined in welcoming you today by Carolyn and Micah Howe-Powlick, our musicians today. Noah and Andrea, our technicians. My teammate Chris and my life mate Dawn. We are grateful to share this time with you. We're with each other in this month in which we celebrate Pride, honoring the beauty of diversity of gender identities and sexual orientations, the colorful expressions of our uniqueness, and our commitment to continue the struggle for freedom and equality, born of a turbulent history. We are together as we meet one another in this new month, in the month in which we honor Indigenous peoples' history. We honor the language, the culture, the traditions, the spirituality of our Indigenous brothers and sisters whose story is woven into this land in deep and long ways, in painful and resilient ways. On whatever land your feet rest today, I invite you to take this moment to acknowledge its first peoples, the ancestral land deep with memory and tradition. For those of us in Edmonton and Saskatoon, we call home this land that is ancestral lands of Treaty 6 with Cree and Métis people who have called this land home for generations, gathering place and traveling route to so many other Indigenous peoples, Blackfoot, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and adopted home to migrants, settlers, from many lands. We're surrounded in this space at SSUC with 7 wise words that represent 7 sacred teachings. Grandfather's teachings, the elders' teachings, the 7 natural laws that have been foundational for many Indigenous peoples, passed down from elders to children, generation after generation. Humility, respect, love, truth, honesty, wisdom, courage. These words surround us in this space, speaking profoundly to us as the legacy of 7 generations of children in Indian residential schools and the brutal confirmation of unmarked graves confronts us all once again. We seek to open our hearts, to listen, to learn, and to act for healing and for justice. Each time we gather, we light a candle with one another. I invite you to take your candle and light yours with me. As we light our candles, we remember the teachings of one of our creation stories, where life emerges from the dark emptiness with the words, "Let there be light." These are the words creation sings at the birth of each child, at the birth of each being, every creature. Let there be light. We are born of light, born to be beings of light. We light our candle knowing that it's not just some of us, but all of us who are creatures of light, learning to honor the light in one another, learning to cherish and celebrate the unique light in one another, and to protect the light from danger, from draft, from neglect, to protect the light that shines uniquely and universally in each of us. In the light of the deep darkness that has emerged once again from buried truth, we seek to listen to the wisdom of an elder, the wisdom of Murray Sinclair, born and raised on St. Peter's Indian Reserve near Selkirk, Manitoba. A lawyer, a judge, a retired senator, and chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission.
The stories from the survivors proved to be pretty horrendous. And one of the most common stories that we heard were from survivors who talked about the children who died in the schools and whose deaths they witnessed. We heard about children who died from accidents, children who died from beatings, children who died when they ran away and never returned. We heard about some of the children who even took their own lives. We heard about children who deliberately burned down the schools and in that way caused the deaths of children in the schools. And we heard about, of course, the abuses they experienced. We heard about the day-to-day violence that they experienced. But just as often, for every single one of them, we heard about the loneliness. We heard about the separation from their family. We heard about how they lost so much to what they experienced in the schools. But the one aspect of residential schools that really proved to be quite shocking to me personally was the stories that we began to gather of the children who died in the schools, of the children who died sometimes deliberately at the hands of others who were there, and in such large numbers. Survivors talked about, during the time that they were there, about children who suddenly went missing. Some of the survivors talked about witnessing children being buried in large numbers into mass burial sites. Some of the survivors talked about infants who were born to young girls at the residential schools who had been fathered by priests, having those infants taken away from them and deliberately killed, sometimes by being thrown into furnaces, they told us. We had no expectation that this would be part of the work that we were doing, so we asked the government to allow us to conduct a fuller inquiry into that part of the work of the TRC in order to explore that on behalf of the survivors and the Canadian public. We submitted a proposal because it was not within our mandate, and we asked that it be funded by the government, and that request was denied. And so largely we did what we could, but it was not anywhere near what we needed to accomplish and needed to investigate. And now we're beginning to see evidence of the numbers of children who died. We know that there were probably lots of sites similar to Kamloops that are going to come to light in the future. And we need to begin to prepare ourselves for that. Those who are survivors of the residential schools, including the intergenerational survivors, need to understand that this evidence is important to make available to Canada so that Canada can understand the magnitude of what it is that they did and what it is that they contributed to, but also can understand the magnitude of their responsibility to stop hiding the documents, to force the churches who have documents to disclose those documents so that we can get to the truth of that experience. Since the revelation of what was discovered at Kamloops has come to light, I have been inundated with phone calls from survivors by the dozens, if not hundreds now. They've called me, often just to cry, just to tell us, I told you so. I told you that this had happened. And now we're beginning to see it. And in their voices I can hear not only the pain and the anguish, but also the anger that they were feeling about the fact that nobody believed them when they told those stories. And in addition to that, I can also hear their sense that they've lost some hope. They've lost the faint glimmer of hope that maybe the children who they knew did not return maybe had gone away to live somewhere else and still might be found. And now they think that maybe that might not be feasible, that option might not be available, and I can hear that as well. So my heart goes out to the survivors. My heart goes out to the children of survivors and the families of survivors who never made it back. I know this is a hard time, but we must persevere. We must persevere in our continued investigation of what we need to know about these schools. And at the same time, we need to ensure that we work hard to try to put in place healing programs and foundations that will help survivors to be able to gather from time to time in order to share their common experiences. Just like veterans from the wars are allowed to gather together in their own unique places, we need to provide such places for survivors of residential schools as well. So I pray for you all. I hope that you can find a way to be able to continue on with your life in a good and healthy way despite this revelation. I hope that you are able to see that there is something here that we can do about this. Thank you. Miigwech.
It is unspeakable. So we will hold silence in the face of this terrible truth as a way to honor these 215 lives and the lives of all Indigenous children who suffered and are suffering the evils of colonialism and our racism. We hold silence as an act of repentance and a commitment to do what will make right relationships from the wounds of a shameful past. We come from our silence to the solidarity of our tears with listening hearts and a willingness to bring our grief to voice and respond to the calls for action that will bring healing and hope on the long road toward reconciliation.
We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain. We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain. When our sighs become our song, when our crying becomes rain, when our fears transform to hope, we will rise to sing again. We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain. We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain. When we grieve 1,000 deaths, when we face uncertainty, when we grow through times of stress, we will build community. We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain. We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain. When we know love in our heart, when we live compassion's way, when we walk the kindness path, we will honor each new day. We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain. We will sing through our tears, we will dance through our pain, we will know joy and grief and join in life's refrain.
One of the things that makes the news of the past weeks so very challenging is that it engages our love and our compassion for children. The news of finding the bodies of children engages us in a way unlike any other. We don't have to be a parent. We don't have to have a child in our day-to-day lives to have dreams for the children of our world, to know that the children are our present and our future, and that our love and that our justice and that our values live on in the children of our world. So there's no better time for us to recommit to our dedication to the children of the world. by reading a story that's based upon the Convention of the Rights of the Child. We're going to share this adaptation of those values and commitments in the UN Convention as written in the book I Have the Right to Be a Child by Alain Serre et Aurélia Franzi. I have the right to be a child. I am a child with eyes, hands, a voice, a heart, and rights. I have the right to a first name, a last name, a family that smiles at me, in a country that I can call my home. I have the right to enough food to eat and water to drink so that I can grow. My favorite thing is an orange. You can eat it or drink its juice. I have the right to live under a roof, to be warm, but not too hot, not to be poor, and to have just enough of what I need, not more. I have the right to be cured with the best medicines that were ever invented, and to run and jump and climb and shout. It's so wonderful to feel good. I have the right to go to school without having to pay. Sorry, this one's hard. So that I can learn how birds or planes or poppy seeds fly. I have the same rights whether I'm a girl or a boy. Boys and girls love to sing the same songs. I have exactly the same right to be respected, whether I am black or white, small or big, rich or poor, born here or somewhere else. I have the right to be helped by my parents, my friends, and my country. If my body doesn't work as well as other children's, I have the right to be free from any kind of violence, and no one has the right to take advantage of me because I am a child. No one. I have the right to go to school and to refuse to go to work. I'll choose a job when I've learned everything I want to know. I have the right to be protected by adults and to be sheltered from disasters under a great big umbrella, whether there's too much rain or because of other sad things. I have the right never to experience the storms of war or the thunder of weapons. I am afraid of guided missiles and smart bombs. I have the right to breathe clean air that's as pure as the blue sky or a newborn polar bear cub. I have the right to play, to create, to imagine, to make faces, or to leap around, and also to have friends. Because dancing alone isn't very much fun. I have the right to learn about friendship, peace, and respect for our planet, and for each human being who lives on it. for each animal that inhabits it, for each plant that nourishes it. I have the right to express myself completely freely, to say what I truly think about everything, even if it doesn't always please my dad, to say exactly how I feel, even if it doesn't always please my mom. I have the right to all these things just because I'm a child, especially if I live in one of the 193 states in the world that have agreed to the Convention on the Rights of the Child. When will all children everywhere really have their rights respected? Tomorrow? The day after tomorrow? In 20 years? We need our rights to be respected now, today, because it is right now, today, that we are children.
We open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our spirits to the wisdom of life. We open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our spirits to the wisdom of life. We open our hearts, we open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our spirits to the wisdom of life. We open our hearts, we open our minds, we open our spirits to the wisdom of life. We open our hearts.
Plate. A very brief poem by Al Zonius. I receive only to give away. My life is simple and full of surrender. I am picked up, put down, and in the end, I am always made clean or broken. In the words of this poet, in the image of this simple, ordinary, everyday item, may we find wisdom for our living.
Let the light of love shine through. Let the light of love shine through. May the best of who I am be the source of what I do. Let the light of love shine through. And I will share a heart of love, and I will do the work of love. This is my vow. Let the light of love shine through. Let the light of love shine through. May the best of who I am be the source of what I do. Let my light of love shine through. And I will speak the words of love, and I will live a life of love. This is my vow. Let the light of love shine through. Let the light of love shine through. May the best of who I am be the source of what I do. Let my light of love shine through. Let the light of love shine through.
Eating is an awesome and awfully messy affair when we're first learning to do it for ourselves. Cleaning up after dinner has more to do than just dealing with dirty dishes. It can be a full body experience. Even after we become experienced eaters, addressing the mess is usually part of the reality of eating. We've got leftovers to deal with, what to save, what to store, what to compost. And then there's scraping and stacking and sorting and scrubbing and washing and rinsing and drying and wiping up and putting away the clean dishes until next time. Eating's the cycle of empty plates, full plates, dirty plates, clean plates. The secret life of the plate is simple, just like the poet said. It receives only to give away. It's picked up, put down, and in the end, made clean or broken. The secret lives of diners is a bit more complicated. It doesn't get much messier than the ancient archetypal dysfunctional family of Joseph. The Genesis Joseph, not Mary's Joseph. the one with the Technicolor coat, the one who was the apple of his daddy's eye and the lemon in the mouth of his brothers. He came to the breakfast table every morning to share in great detail his dreams from the night before, and there was always a common theme to his dreams. The plot of his dreams always placed him in a position of power over his brothers. And it placed his brothers in the script in a way that they were always serving him. They were always beneath him. And dinner time was no better for his brothers. They came in from the fields, dirty and tired from a hard day of manual labor, to share a table with a brother who didn't have to lift a finger, never got dirt under his fingernail, never had to do his share of the chores. Their hatred fermented for years until they seized upon an opportunity to permanently eliminate Joseph from the table. If it hadn't been for his brother Reuben, Joseph would have been dead on the spot. But just like in every family, there's usually one trying to straddle the divide. But unfortunately, before Reuben could conduct his surreptitious rescue mission and get Joseph out of the open pit they'd thrown him in, things got more complicated. Over dinner, the greed, or perhaps some measure of compassion on the part of his brother Judah, persuaded the brothers to spare him from death and do the lesser of two evils, sell him into slavery. For years, they deceived their father about the fate of his son. They sentenced him to a life of grief, reporting their brother dead, claiming an unfortunate accident. He must have been killed by a wild animal, they said. No body was found, just his unique coat, blood-soaked. And somehow, they all lived with what they'd done for years. Somehow they all held the code of shameful silence, and no one exposed the dirty, despicable secret. Years went by, and none of them told their father the truth about his beloved son or the horror of what they had done. Bitter times became better times for Joseph in spite of his victimizers. A series of fortuitous events brought him to a position of power and influence in the place where he'd been a slave. And meanwhile, a series of misfortunes befell his brothers and his father as famine came to their land and they were faced with the disaster of trying to find food to feed their family. The brothers left their homeland in the hopes of securing food from a foreign power. Little did they know that it was their brother who was a person of influence in that foreign power. The tables had turned, and the one who now held their fate in his hands was the brother they had bullied, brutalized, betrayed. The storyteller gives Joseph the advantage of recognizing his family when his brothers come for help, while his identity remains invisible to them. After a series of manipulations, the brothers sit down for a meal without recognizing the stranger who's hosting them. But when dinner's done, when it's time to deal with the dishes and the leftovers, the mess of their actions is revealed. Joseph emerges from the closet of his anonymity to confront them with a sordid, shared history. It's not a clean and tidy story of reconciliation where everyone lived happily ever after. It's a timeless story that begins in telling truth, ground truthing, begins in confronting the mess, begins in facing the overwhelming mess. There are a lot of leftovers at this ancient storied table. There's the leftover of deceit and betrayal and indecency and disrespect and selfishness and intolerance and cruelty and brutality and indifference, to name just a few. And then there's the decades of dirty laundry to air, stacks of messy plates to deal with. But it doesn't begin until the mess is uncovered. When the mess is confronted honestly and directly, and there's no turning away. It's all just plainly on the table. On a table where the victim sets the agenda. There is no reconciliation without reckoning. It's how the word begins. It's how the process begins. In open-hearted, honest reckoning. And then to get to reconciliation, there's the long road of diligently walking the talk from reckoning to conciliation. Collectively and personally, we all know the beauty of life. And we all know something of the ugly mess of life. The messes that are created through no fault of our own, or the messes that we ourselves make, or the messes that we bear some share of responsibility for, the messes of the histories we inherit, and the shame we carry collectively, even for the actions of others, and the messes in life for which no one is responsible, natural disasters and accidents and misfortunes that are just the nature of chaos, the nature of the stuff of life. The mess on the table after the brothers ate with Joseph was a mess of their own making, a mess that had spanned years. And it was an occasion we have witnessed so many times in our history. And now when the tables are turned, it's the victim who has the supreme opportunity for revenge, for retaliation, for retribution. And what happens next in the narrative is not tidy. It's not predictable. The story, in the way stories do, compresses the complex, messy reality of telling and hearing truth. Forgiveness is not inevitable and never easy. Reconciliation is not a given, and it's never easy. Healing is not guaranteed, and it's never easy. In the world of the story, dealing with the mess took time and it took tears. It didn't happen all at once. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen without great grief. In slow, incremental moments, Joseph revealed himself to his brothers, reinstated himself in a family that had rejected him, arranged to be reunited with a father who grieved him, provided the opportunity for his brothers not only to survive, but to thrive. It doesn't always turn out this way. And it isn't often that victims find themselves in the comfortable seat of power Joseph found himself in. But just like the dishes don't do themselves, and the mess doesn't disappear on its own, we know what can happen when everyone gets up from the table and does their part. We know what can happen when we hear each other, when we listen with more than our ears, when we share our tears. We know what can happen when we work together, when we each do what we can, when we begin by picking up our messy plate from the table, when we organize and share the work, when we take turns at the sink, when we talk and laugh and tell stories and sing as we work, when we entrust someone who knows where things go to be the one to put them away, when it becomes possible to meet one another in the mess and make our way through the mess. The overwhelming begins to give way to possibilities. And the leftovers can begin to feed hunger instead of fuel hatred. May we find the healing energy to confront the mess together.
We find it always helpful when we can join together with others, even if we're apart, with words that can shape our hearts, words that can shape our intentions, that can strengthen our resolve to move forward. So we will strengthen our intentions together with words that we speak or read together in the hopes that our prayers may move closer to our actions. Even as we lament shameful and painful chapters in our history, we commit ourselves to living from the place of hearts broken open. As we face the wounds of cruelty and the evils of racism, we seek to listen, to learn, to accept our responsibilities, and to seek to do what is needed for hope and healing. May we honor one another's experience with respect and dignity, and settle for nothing less than equity and freedom for all. May we live to make it so.
In times of sadness, when life brings fear or pain, seasons of grieving, when loss seems more than pain, in word and deed, may our love surround you. In these our times of need, may love in times of gladness, when life brings happiness, seasons of pleasure, when work has brought success, we celebrate. In our hearts we join you. In these abundant blessings we share the joy. In joy or sorrow, as life brings what it brings, trial or triumph, together we will sing. May love abound as we share the blessings. Together our hearts join, we pray as
We'll share a few invitations with you and hope that you can join us as we do what we have been doing each and every Sunday with our post-gathering reflection time. Join us today at about 11:15 or so on Zoom to talk about our reflections, our experiences of today's gathering. And you can find the link to that Zoom call either in your e-messenger or on the website that's on your screen. We have come to the close of our dinner table wisdom series. We've had dessert and we've cleaned up and we've dealt with the leftovers. The real only thing left to do is to kind of continue chit-chatting. We want to invite you to have some time to feedback, to give your thoughts and reflections on this series. We would love to hear from you about some of the thoughts that you've had over the course of this series, or some dinner table wisdom that you would add that we haven't explored. Please submit your reflections by Saturday, this coming Saturday, June 12th, to the email address you see on your screen. And we'll have a time to share those next Sunday. Some time of celebration just now. SSUC is one of the 12 agencies sharing the Food Bank's Janet Hughes Award this year. So many congratulations to the volunteers who have made the Food Bank Depot here at SSUC something that has not failed in this year of pandemic. All of the agencies and locations were recognized for continuing to serve during the pandemic and for making it happen by being innovative. In March 2020, we here at SSUC put all our volunteers over the age of 70 on leave to protect their health, and a handful of younger volunteers kept the doors open with their extra work through spring and summer and winter. They donned masks, they sanitized hands, they kept distance as they offered curbside delivery of food bank hampers. So it's thanks to the dedication of volunteers that SSUC didn't miss a single week through the year of providing hampers to our neighbors who needed food assistance. You can see in the pictures a few of our volunteers who received the award on behalf of the community. And our congratulations go to all those volunteers who made that possible through this year and who contributed to this terrific accomplishment. Way to go. Congratulations. Project Reconnect is an opportunity to gather in small groups for outdoor visits this spring and summer. Now that the weather has improved, now that we're seeing the ability to gather with a few more outdoors, we are going to put Project Reconnect back in business this year. Would you like a chance to visit with your SSUC community friends or to make some new connections? Then please contact the church office at the information you see on your screen to join up and to be part of these weekly visits, perhaps every other week through the summer, and connect with each other. Our reopening task group is working to find ways that we might gather again in person in the coming months. They don't yet know how that might work, but they are doing the work necessary to move toward that day when we might be able to gather in person. They're inviting you to take a very simple survey to help them make some decisions and to know kind of the mood and the comfort level of the group. So please visit the website. You see it there on your screen. Complete that very simple survey. It'll just take a minute or two, and that will help the group immensely. Earlier this year, Saturday Saunter was an online imagined hike offered to young adults in our community. Well, now we'd like to introduce you to Wednesday Wander. This is an opportunity for adults of all ages to gather for a hike that is imagined and virtual happening on online Wednesdays from July 7th to August 11th. And we'd like it if you could sign up in advance. So if that's something that interests you, if you'd like to take a proverbial hike and do that online with your community of SSUC, please visit. It doesn't say the site on the screen. Yes, it does. emberwood.ca is where you can sign up for that. We value each and every contribution that has been coming our way. And for those of you that donate regularly, we thank you so much. It has seen us through so many of these months that we've been apart. For those of you who have never donated to us or donate periodically, these are ways on your screen that you can support the work of SSUC and the way that SSUC turns that around and supports agencies and work and global efforts, using our dollars to reach out and to support the ways that we can around the world, as well as keeping our lights on and our current efforts going. So we thank you for all those contributions. Lies are often neat and tidy. Ignorance can be very comfortable and clean. The truth is messy. Hearing it, understanding our place in it, reckoning with it. In all the complexity and messiness of living, may we experience time. May we have rest. May we have the energy we need for embracing life in all its facets, walking the healing path, so that we can find together ways forward. As the light changes, so do we. May we go in peace, to be safe, to be loving, to be kind.